number 3 is be confused. Be very confused. Now that is a bit flip on my part to put it in that way, but I think sometimes when people take my courses, they expect that the material that they'll be reading will be laid out in neat, accessible rows, kind of like a housing development out in the suburbs, when in fact the areas that I'm dealing with are more like the ancient city that Wittgenstein describes in the following quote. Our language can be seen as an ancient city, a maze of little streets and squares, of old and new houses, and of houses with additions from various periods, and this surrounded by a multitude of new boroughs with straight regular streets and uniform houses. So those of you who are expecting the text that lays things out in straight regular streets and has uniform houses are going to have to get used to finding your way about an old city that is continually being rebuilt and that has all kinds of additions from different periods and is not at all uniform. Now, this can be surprising sometimes, and as a result can lead to some confusion. But I think that what that often means is that we're in the position where we're ready to think about something. As Wittgenstein also puts it, the philosophical problem has the form, I don't know my way about. I think we do sometimes get lost in thought, lost in what we're reading, lost in trying to figure things out. But being lost isn't necessarily all bad. Now, generally speaking, we think of being lost as a bad thing, or a sad thing anyway. It's difficult to get where you're going if you're lost. On the other hand, when you're lost, you see things from a new perspective. For example, if you come upon a landmark that's normally familiar to you and that you don't even pay attention to, but you come upon it from a completely different direction because you've been lost, then you see it in a very new way. So, I guess all I'm saying in this is that sometimes the best way to learn your way around a city is to get lost in it from time to time. Now, having maps is helpful. Having routes that you're very familiar with and that you can use to get where you need to go in times of stress and duress is also very helpful. But basically, it's also interesting to go get lost. Now, I could imagine somebody being kind of upset with me for telling them to get lost. I'm not exactly sure what to say about that, except that, I understand that the purpose of a professor is to give you direction, to help you see the connections that can be made, and surely I will be trying to do that. But I also think it's important to have that experience of being lost and then finding your way about again. There's a way in which, as adults, we seek to get from point A to point B in the most efficient way possible. But it may also be that as adults, we can see that it might be fun to find other ways of getting from here to there. So let's think about this thought for just a second then. Maybe there is more childhood available to thought at 35 than at 18, and more outside a degree course than in one. A new task for thought, to search out its childhood anywhere and everywhere, even outside childhood. Now, I think what that might mean is that when you're 18 years old, oftentimes you're seeking to get on with your adult life. That seems to be the goal toward which you've been going. After you're a little older, you realize that being able to play with ideas is a luxury. And that experience of not exactly knowing where you're going is rich in many ways. So, if my advice to you is to be confused, just remember that there are two different kinds of confusion. There's the kind of confusion where you haven't got a clue. In fact, in some cases, people like this don't even know that they're confused. They think they know where they're going, but they really don't. Then there's a kind of confusion that comes not from being clueless, but from seeing more than one possibility, from being confused about the intersections of different ideas and wondering where they go, from seeing how different additions from different periods have changed the nature of the neighborhood that you're wandering around in, and all that kind of thing. So, in other words, there's the kind of confusion that enables you to learn. And that's a good kind of confusion to have, and I hope that this course helps foster that for all of us.